Hey folks, welcome to the channel. In today's build, we're going to be making some stainless Damascus, and I got my buddy Coy Baker, the steel wizard behind Baker Forge and Tool.
The steel wizard.
Forging stainless requires an airtight environment, so we've created a canister around the billet. We've attached a steel pipe, and we're flooding that canister with argon as we set the weld. Pressing stainless is not like carbon steel. It does not want to compress. This takes a really long time to get this to stick. Temperature control with stainless is critical. Here we've got the forge set at 2100 degrees. Everything with stainless Damascus just takes longer. It took us about 6 heats just to set the weld on this, where normally we would do about 3. Now we've removed the canister and we're going to go through the long process of drawing this out. This took us over 20 heats just to get this to the bar we need.
Splitting on the end.
Where?
In the center. Now look up on the end, right in the center. It's opening like a bird's mouth.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So here we are so far. We forged this out. We annealed it. We had some issues with it overheating. You can see, hopefully, the little cracks here. The CPM 154 does not like to get too hot. So we ended up grinding a whole bunch off this billet. But luckily, you can see it splitting, the CPM 154 splitting back here. So we think we got some decent steel. You can see once we cut this, it looks really good. So there's still a bit of spidering in the corner, but we're going to put it back in and forge some more on it. And fingers crossed, we get a billet.
Now we continue to draw this out. Stainless steel is like moving a rock. It really doesn't want to move. Here's another interesting aspect of stainless steel. Normally the ends would bulge out, but here they're hourglassing. Very peculiar. Now it's time to move to the rolling mill. I'm not sure what I'd do without this because stainless doesn't want to move in the press when it's really thin.
So here's the first billet. So this is the one that got a lot more heat to it, and you can see how rough it is on the edges, but we think that was just from the initial heating. Here you see how nice and clean the steel is, here as well. So we're going to be grinding all this off and see what we have left, and then restack it, get it back in. Well, here's the first billet we started with. After grinding all the bad stuff off, that's all that's left. Luckily, the second billet turned out a little better. So we're going to get these two back in the forge after restacking them and see if we can get enough steel for a blade. So I did the forge welding session on these. Didn't really film it because it's not really that interesting just to press it down. But hopefully things went well. Let's bust off the canister and see what it looks like. Well, if it's stuck together, that is the best weld that I've gotten so far doing this entire process. It looks nice and clean, didn't burn any of the CPM. We just got to hope that it's welded. So here it is after busting the cans off both of these. Cans came off really nice. You can see I didn't have any, even on the parts where it was where it was welded flat. Only this section right here is the only place where the can really stuck. And I ground one side, and that looks amazing. The only difference here between last time is we did this at 2,000 degrees instead of closer to 2,100. So this is definitely the way to go, in my opinion, is to do it at a bit of a lower temp. It seemed to bind no problem. So now we're going to get these back in the forge, draw them out, and then I think I'm going to try pressing a ladder pattern into these, and we'll see what we get.
First we're going to work on the small billet, draw that out, and then I'll switch to the larger one. The good news is that I seem to have no problem forging this stuff. Seems to stay together really nicely. You have to keep it pretty hot though, and certainly above about 1700 degrees when you're forging. And now on to the second billet. This one also went really well. We were forging at about 1950 degrees Fahrenheit, and I think that's the ticket. You may be thinking, why doesn't everyone just make stainless Damascus? Well, this is really expensive. Each one of those billets costs about $300 in steel. The added propane, because this took 3 times longer to forge. So this is not a cheap endeavor. Now it's time to try adding some pattern into this billet. I started with this ring pattern and then moved on to ladder dies.
So here's the billets after forging. The small one is probably just under 3/16 or maybe right at 3/16. I didn't put a pattern in this one, so this one's just going to be about a 70 layer random pattern. I just didn't feel like I had enough steel to be grinding any extra off. This one, on the other hand, you see I started with something. I wanted to do this cool ring pattern. Tried it with a pipe. It just wouldn't hold up to the stainless steel. I think I might have got a little pattern in it, so we're going to try just that end. And then the rest of it is just this ladder on an angle. So let's go grind this off, and then we'll do a test etch. All right, time to actually make something out of this stainless Damascus. It's actually quite a few months later, probably about 4 months later after I made this. It's been sitting in a drawer, but it's time to make something out of it. I had one big piece from the second batch that was, it was about 16 inches long. I cut this piece off because this was kind of thick. This is about 1/4 inch thick. So I needed quite a bit thinner because I'm going to be making some folders. This is not to scale, but I'm going to be making a couple of stainless steel Damascus folders. I got the liners done for those. This is the Damascus from the first stack. It's about 3/16 thick. I'm going to give this to my buddy Jared to do something with. But right now, let's concentrate on this piece and make some folders. I just lasered my blade patterns onto this piece of steel to make sure they would fit. Now let's go cut them out on the bandsaw. Okay, let's take a little recap of where we're at. I have profiled the blades, done quite a bit of work on them. They're actually heat treated already. And did the bolsters and the liners, and these are out of titanium. So I'm going to be anodizing these either blue or purple, and this one, you can tell from the flex, this is going to be kind of a green theme. Alright, so next we're going to grind the blades, and then start doing the fit up and the locking mechanism.
This is an abbreviated build of these folders, but if you want to watch the full series on how to build a folder, check out this playlist up in the corner. Here I'm grinding the lock face. This is where the lock bar is going to meet up against it. So it's actually being ground in a 7.5 degree angle here. Now I'm bending the titanium lock bar, and that's going to meet up against the lock face on the blade to keep the knife open. Alright, so I've got these somewhat put back together after they've been ground, and I've done the lock face, and now they actually lock up, both of them. So that's good. We'll be just refining the lockup on these after. Now I'm adding some coining to the liners just for an added effect. It is finally time to etch these. I've got the back bars and the blades, and they're going to go in some Gator Piss Max. This is an etchant for stainless Damascus. Let's give it a shot.